Welcome back to Classic Car Garage. In a previous show, you saw us rebuild the engine on our Project Mustang. Well, now it's time to tackle the transmission. That's why we've come here to one of the leading experts in the transmission field, Larry Goldstein of Cottman Transmissions in Canoga Park, California. Larry, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jeff. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Give us some tips, if you will, on how our viewers out there can help prevent costly transmission problems.
Well, Jeff, probably the easiest and most affordable way to prolong the life of a transmission is to service it regularly. That being changing the fluid as well as the filter or screen. Secondly, keep an eye on the level of your fluid as well as the condition. Examine your driveway and your garage floor for any potential seepage from a leak. And also, as importantly, listen to the performance of your vehicle. If you hear unusual noises, there's erratic shifting, hesitation, anything that just seems to be abnormal, these are warning signs to bring it into Cottman Transmission immediately so that we can do a free 21-point inspection on that vehicle.
And I understand that a lot of people actually cost themselves a lot of money because they ignore early warning signs, right?
Absolutely. I would estimate that 80 to 90% of the major repairs we do here are a result of neglect or avoiding a minor problem that existed prior to them coming in and needing an overhaul.
Well, that sounds great. Well, our Project Car's transmission is over there on the bench in the shop with a window. What do you say we go take a look?
It would be my pleasure.
All right, let's go. Mark, good to see you again.
My pleasure again.
This must be Luis. Luis, nice to meet you. Luis Valdez, Cottman Transmission. Well, Larry over there was telling me the process that you go through when a customer brings their transmission in, and here you've got it, our little C4 transmission out of our Mustang. So how do you expect that we'll get started with this job today?
Luis is going to start with removing the torque converter. We're going to inspect the shaft for any wear that might be in this area here.
Okay, and this one doesn't look too bad, does it?
It looks fine.
Okay, next step?
Next step, he's going to remove the bell housing from it.
Okay, the bell housing is off now, Mark. What's the next thing that he wants to take a look at here?
His next step to disassemble this transmission, he's going to go ahead and remove the tail housing on it, which he's already got 3 of the bolts out. One more here.
Okay, now the tail housing is off, and that shows us the shaft back here.
That'll expose your governor area here. His next step will be to remove the governor. His next step will be to remove the transmission pan. That'll expose the valve body.
Okay, so the valve body is off at this point. So at this point, Mark, he's taking the valve body apart here, looking for sticky valves, right?
Correct. Then he's going to give the entire valve body a complete and thorough cleaning. Check for anything that might stick after the cleaning.
Okay, so this is pretty clean. This is the valve body, right?
Yes, sir.
And if you will, Mark, explain to us what what he's pulling out here.
What he's pulling out in his hand, that is the band. Those clutches are in pretty bad shape, though, Jeff. Take a look at the burnt qualities, how they're blackened.
Right.
And they're mighty thin.
So this is going to indicate that we need to replace those,
right? Yes, sir. You're going to need to replace the clutches.
Well, Mark, our transmission here really wasn't in too bad a shape, was it?
No, it really wasn't, Jeff. What I would recommend is go ahead and change that reverse sprag. In addition to that, I'd like to change all the thrust washers. They looked a little scored to me, and I'm sure Lewis will agree with me. He wants to make his end play as tight as possible when he's building this back to factory specifications.
Right.
In addition to that, as you saw the little water contamination here on the bench, that water contamination will also be present in our torque converter. Now, water is the biggest enemy to a transmission. I would suggest replacing the torque converter at this time. Anytime anything's in question here at Cottman, we go ahead and replace it. We want to do the right job the first time.
We'll be right back with more Classic Car Garage after these words. Stay with us. Hey, Erwin, how are you?
Hi, Jeff.
Nice to see you again. Well, as you know, we're going to be doing the interior on our Project Mustang on Classic Car Garage, and the first name that came to mind when I thought of quality interior parts and vinyl, of course, was Erwin Tesler and Just Dashes.
Why, thank you.
Now, I've got some parts that I brought along with me today, and in just a moment I want you to take a look at those and tell me what you think of them. But first, tell me a little bit more about Just Dashes, sort of an overview of the work that you do. How'd you get started doing this and when?
Just Dashes started in 1981, and we started the company repairing cracked dashboards because there was a need for it. And the process that we use today was researched, and what we do is each part is basically handmade. And the vinyl that we use is better than what the original was. It's the same type of material. It's thermo vacuum formed, but it's thicker. It has the original grain. We can color match it to all the original colors. And it's a much better part than what the originals were.
And it doesn't make any difference the year, make, and model of the car. Pretty much you can do almost anything?
That's correct. Any part that is foam molded or hard plastic part, we can do.
Well, we want to get a look at how you do what you do, but before we do that, I want you to take a look at some of the parts that we brought in. Tell us what you think of them. All right, Erwin, here are some of the pieces that we brought from our little Project Mustang. As you can see here, I've got my horn pad, we've got our floor console here, and overhead console, and we've got our radio insert here as well too, which probably arguably is maybe in the worst shape, right?
Yeah, this is your worst looking piece, and boy, this part has seen its better days. We can repair this with no problem, Jeff.
And our horn pad here, now this has seen some better days as well too. It's pretty much complete, but through the use, people grabbing onto it and so forth, you can see that the texture here of the grain has worn off on this.
Right. I don't recommend dyeing a part like this, and I understand you're changing the interior color to black.
Right.
The paint will just rub right off of this part. We can reskin this part, and the vinyl will be in black.
And once again, it's going to be as good as new. And you've got one right here, as a matter of fact.
Right. This is a horn pad out of a Mopar, and the skin has not been trimmed yet. I pulled it off of the production line, and you can see the detail that we can get. And here is a part that is
this is already trimmed, right?
All skinned and trimmed, and ready to go to the paint department.
This looks great, as a matter of fact. These are from some pretty common cars, a Mopar and a Mustang. But let's say that someone brings you something that's less than common, let's say 61 Corvair. Can you help somebody with an odd car like that?
Oh, sure. We can match up the grain of the car, and also the color. We'll take a look in this color matchup book from 1961.
I like the fact that they call this artificial leather. I don't think I've ever heard of artificial leather. It's like getting an artificial leather jacket. Listen, it's Naugahyde or it's vinyl. It's not artificial leather. But nevertheless, look at all the correct grains and all the different colors. And again, this is something you can do for any make and model of car, right?
That's correct.
I'll tell you what, let's take a look back at the shop here. The guys are working right now. Let's run through the process of how you go from a piece like this to a beautiful finished piece like this.
All right. Jeff, let me show you what we're going to be shipping out today.
Absolutely.
Right here in front of us is a 59 Cadillac dash. It's in the correct grain and color.
And this really is a beautiful job, Erwin. This is really what I would call a concours quality dash restoration, right?
That's what we strive for. Jeff, this is the framework from the 59 Cadillac dash. This is where we start from. We'll take off the old vinyl and foam, and then grind the metal down so that we get a good surface to bond our foam to. This is the next step of the process, Jeff. We shape and mold the foam to the metal frame and use a pattern to guide us so that we get the correct shape of the part. There you go. You can see the part is coming up. You can see the shape of it.
And that's the vacuum.
The vacuum is applied, and then we hand shape it.
And what he's doing right now is cooling it off, right?
Yeah, it's important to cool it off quickly. It anneals the vinyl.
Well, Erwin, I guess that's the whole show right there, and it really didn't take long at all, did it?
No, it's the preparation that takes all the time, Jeff.
Right, it's all that hard work that goes into getting a concours quality dash like this. And I'll tell you, we really can't wait to see how nice our parts are going to turn out for a Project Mustang.
You'll be pleased.
I know we will. Erwin, thanks for taking us on the tour of Just Dashes, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
See you.
Look forward to it.